Hello, I'm Tara Brabazon, and welcome to the Post 48. How do we handle setbacks? Now, yes, this is the next installment in our coaching series. And if you have a goal, then you will confront a setback. And the question is how you handle that setback. Setbacks knock us down, and they knock us out of the pathway to achieving our goal. And obviously the challenge then is once you've been sort of knocked out of your pathway, it takes an enormous amount of energy to pull yourself up and then reconnect with your goal. And so what we're going to do today is present 10 strategies for you to manage and handle a setback. Now, I understand why this is such a challenging area, because sometimes, in fact, let's be honest, most of the time, when you've confronted a setback, it's painful. It hurts. It kicks the stuffing out of you. And I know when you're on the floor and wondering what is going on, sometimes it's easier to stay down there and just sort of sit in the fear and sit in the disappointment, because you know it's going to be really painful to get up again. I understand that. So today we're going to acknowledge all the pain, all the difficulty, and we're going to give you 10 strategies that may fit for you. You may want to discard them, and that's great, but there may be a strategy today that'll help you. And I know there are people out there, because you've been getting in touch with me, there are people out there who are really managing a difficult situation. And so there may be something like a jigsaw piece that just fits into your life today. Now, why this is so important is if you live, and if you're breathing, you're living. If you live, you will confront disappointments in your life. And if you want success in any form, then you're going to have to know how to handle those disappointments. And there are many modes of setback. There's personal setbacks, there are professional setbacks, financial setbacks, and indeed environmental setbacks, which may be things like flooding, cyclones and earthquakes, like we've experienced in Aotearoa in the last week. But more importantly, what I'm trying to argue and suggest to you today is when you confront a setback, I want all of us to manage that setback early while it's still in one domain. So it's in the personal domain or the professional domain or the financial domain. What I'm arguing today is we must not let this setback fester. We must not. We have to address it in its particular domain before it festers and spreads through all the domains of our life. So here we go. You ready? Let's do this. Oh, this is exciting. Tip number 1, be accurate and be responsible. When you confront a setback, it is so important that you recognize it and you acknowledge it. You speak the words of the setback. So if something has happened, and it's often something pretty negative that happens, I want you to be really clear with yourself and with me and with the people around you. What has happened? Describe it. Who was involved? Where were you? And most importantly, express the emotions. Express the hurt. Express the disappointment. And most importantly, I need you to express how this setback has dislodged you from the pathway to achieving your goal. Now, the reason I'm getting you to put the emotion in language is obviously the moment you put emotion in language, you are expressing it, you're managing it, you're constructing a narrative, and therefore you're moving through it. Because I need to focus and make sure we're all focused on getting you reattached to that goal once more, because we've got to get ourselves back on track. Now, once you've understood and narrativized, put into language the setback, I then need you to do something else for me. I need you to switch from recognizing the setback to assuming responsibility for that setback, and particularly assuming responsibility to get yourself moving once more. Let me explain. Now, if a setback has occurred and you are responsible, you've done it, something's occurred and you're actually responsible for this setback, then I need you to acknowledge that. Don't blame other people. Don't do the blame shame thing. If something bad has happened and you were involved in creating that problem, then sit in that and acknowledge it. Okay. Don't blame other people. And if you have had a misjudgment, then own it, and I need you to learn from it. Now, if the setback was done to you, and in our tough times at the moment, that is happening a lot. So something truly dreadful has been done to you. You still have a responsibility. And that responsibility, and it's a big one, is to pick yourself up and own your responsibility to get reattached with your goal. Because to manage any setback, you have to understand it, and then you have to claim responsibility. And this is the tough bit. Claim responsibility to pick yourself up. Come on. And move yourself once more towards your goal. Assume responsibility. Okay. 2. Again, a hard one. Transform a setback into feedback. This is really important and it's tough to do, but it certainly is the characteristic of successful people. If you can transform a tough moment into feedback, wow, then you can save hours, days, weeks, months, years of your life. So if something goes wrong, then be clear what precisely has gone wrong. Now, if, for example, you've submitted a refereed article to a journal and it's been knocked back by a reviewer too, then, your article has received, say, a dodgy review. I need you to take that review seriously. Take the emotion out and look at the feedback that they are offering you and use it to improve that article and go again. So take on the feedback and use it to improve your work and, yes, improve yourself. If you can do this, you can improve not only the speed at which you complete your work, but the caliber of the work that you create. 3. I know these are tough, by the way. 3. Become comfortable with discomfort. This is the hard stuff. Life is dreadful most of the time. That's what no one tells you when you're a kid. You think, oh, it's all going to be great. It's going to be happy families and a nice house and relationships and stuff. Life is actually dreadful most of the time. And really, really dreadful things happen to really good people. But as I described in one of my articles, comfort is a cage, happiness is the lure. So to be successful, we're going to have to transcend comfort, because comfort keeps us in compliance, comfort keeps us in conformity. So to be successful, to survive really, we have to embrace discomfort. Discomfort is also a proxy. It's a proxy that you're learning something. And if you're learning, then that's important, because you're then transcending your previous best efforts and becoming an even better version of yourself. So a setback is a learning moment, and we need all to learn to be comfortable in that discomfort. 4. Use our discomfort and disappointment to reframe your relationship with your goal. The gift of a setback is that it can grant you clarity. As we discussed earlier in our coaching series, in our first couple of sessions, we focused a lot of time on making sure that your goal is clear. You have a singular goal and it's clear. Now, what a setback does is it actually further sharpens your goal. It's a frame, it sharpens your frame, and it sharpens your relationship with your goal. Let me explain. A setback is a reminder of what you don't want in life. It's a reminder also of how far you've moved in terms of moving towards your goal. So this is all valuable information. These are valuable data sets for you to think about. This is who I am now, and this is how I'm moving towards the goal. So let's get real here. Some bad stuff, some really big setbacks. Say you've lost your job. Say you've lost your house. Say your partner has left you. Say your partner has died. These are brutalizing, horrific moments that a lot of people just can never actually get over. And we understand why. Because these are horrific moments. Bad stuff happens to good people. But the issue is, after a relationship ends, after you've lost that job, you're a different person. And therefore, this moment post the setback, this appalling setback, reminds you who you are now and what's important now. It allows you to take a break, take a breath, and reassess your commitments. You're able to get clear and define your goal with even greater precision. Okay. 5. Keep connected to your people. Big hi to all the people out there. When you confront a setback, it is incredibly isolating. And the way to avoid this isolation and stop yourself sort of sitting in a pity party, sitting in sort of a self-language, Tari, stupid woman, stupid, instead of sort of how you get out of the stupid woman self-language, is to have a team of very strong and very fabulous, obviously, supporters around you. And why you need these friends, these supporters around you, and this is so important, is they can put this situation, they can put the setback in a different context. So I cannot tell you, colleagues, how many times in my life I've taken advice and I've taken support and courage and strength from the great friends around me. Most of you know the wonderful Professor Jackie Hewitt. Big shout out to Jackie, big shout out to the D as well, you rock D. Now, Jackie Hewitt and I have known each other for, I think now, 27 years. When we were both impossibly young academics in an impossibly dreadful university. We had no idea what was going on, but we met each other, and through our lives, and this is so important, a lot of really bad things have happened to Jackie, and it certainly happened to me, happened to us. And always Jackie is the first person I go to when something bad happens. And I'll tell you why. We've all got these brilliant people around us. You're brilliant, and the friends around you are brilliant. So what Jackie does for me is she reevaluates the situation. She's a brilliant woman. Reevaluates, reassesses, offers me a different perspective or a different approach. She enables me to check my interpretations. If I'm going, Jackie, this is what I think has happened, and she can actually verify it and go, look, I think that's partly right, but you're missing this bit of the story. So these great supporters around you can make you feel okay, like I'm with you, but they can also give you very important data sets to check and verify the situation and provide alternative ways of surviving it. So your friends cannot make a setback go away, but they can provide a new context and a new frame around that setback. And even more importantly, I think this is crucial, when a really dreadful life setback has happened to you, you're a bit confused, you're very emotional, very upset, and you might simply be misreading the entire situation. So your good mates, your good friends around you can offer a fresh but also a clear perspective. So don't sit alone in your setback. This is the characteristic of people that don't move on in the setback. So don't sit in the setback. Let your friends, your mates, your colleagues give you additional information and interpretations to allow you to move through that setback. Oh yeah. 6. This one's really mine. Recognize the power of persistence. Our culture has a very, very odd relationship with success. Hashtag understatement. You know, we have phrases like overnight success, all those influencers, the reality television stars. Who actually are these people? My goodness me. But actually, you know what? When the studies of success have been undertaken, the really inspirational narratives and arcs that get people going are the people who have worked hard and persisted, who have beaten the odds and beaten setbacks. And that's so much more inspiring in terms of the people who have had the easy break or the patronage. You know, mummy and daddy has given them money and then they could set up their small business, which became a big business, or a big business that became a small business. So research is demonstrating that actually sustainable success, which is what we all want, sustainable success is built on framing your professional and your personal life as a journey. Now, I know Dr. Leanne McRae and indeed myself, we have a lot of issues with the word journey, like journey. Great band. But, you know, I'm on a journey. Are you, love? And actually the problem is, Leanne, that the research shows if you can configure your life as a journey, as a pathway, moving through life and setbacks, then you actually reconfigure and reframe setbacks as a pathway to success. So I apologize in advance. I am returning the word journey to my vocabulary because you need to reframe setbacks as part of a journey or a narrative to success. Cool. 7, my other crucial one, keep showing up. We're going to talk about this in the post next week as well on momentum, but keep showing up. Setbacks make it really, really easy to give up. Even if we sort of feel a bit worthless, we feel a bit useless, we feel like a failure, you know what? Just show up. No judgment, just show up. Get up the next morning, focus on your goal, and get on with it. Make a decision. Yes, you feel rubbish, you feel dreadful, but make a decision. You know what? I'm just going to get up, I'm going to show up, and I'm going to add some value to my life. Not perfectionism. I'm just going to get up and add some value to my life. Show up, no judgment. I know you feel like rubbish, but give yourself incredible credit for showing up. And I'll give you a quick example of when I did this. On March the 8th, 2018, my beloved late husband, you have seen him in the earlier vlog series, died. He died at 12:20 a.m. At 5 a.m. the next morning, I went to the gym. Now that may seem completely bonkers, and trust me, I was on the treadmill, I was crying while on the treadmill, people thought it was sweat, it wasn't, but I made a decision to show up. Feeling like my life has been taken away from me, that I was no longer alive, that I was dead, but I made a decision to show up. And that's going to become important in a second because we move to 8. Ask yourself, what is the worst thing that can happen from this moment? Now, I know this is a bit of a goth tip, but it is fascinating, and again, the research confirms this. When the worst happens, when something dreadful happens, don't stop the movie. Don't go, this is the end, this is the end, start singing the Doors. Don't do that. Okay, so this has happened. Now, what I want you to do is keep the movie going with yourself, okay? Keep the movie going. Follow the possible narratives and trajectories through for me. And ask yourself, okay, this dreadful thing's happened. What is the worst thing that can happen from this point? And be specific. What's going to be the impact of this setback in a day's time, in a week's time, a month's time, a year's time, 5 years' time, or 10 years' time? Now, this is important because most setbacks that feel truly dreadful today, what I want you to do is think about how you're going to feel about this setback in a year's time. Now, when you go, this is what I'm feeling now, how do you think I'll feel in a year's time? The gift of that visualization is that it gives yourself perspective and it gives you an alternative interpretation where you thought there was none. So something that seems like an absolute car crash today might seem like a speeding ticket in a year's time. So if you won't worry too much about this setback in a year's time, why don't you give yourself permission today to borrow that future and calm and reframe yourself? 9. Make a point of maintaining and building confidence. I know all of these are really, really hard because what happens is a setback hurts you personally. It crushes your very confidence. And confidence matters so much because that's our belief in ourselves. That's our belief in our abilities. So how are we reaching towards a goal if we doubt ourselves, right? So this is crucial stuff. And when our confidence takes a hit, our relationship to other people, our relationship to ourselves also takes a hit. Self-doubt is so frequently the result of a setback. And it means we are continually not only questioning our abilities, which is bad enough, but continually questioning our self-worth. Now, inadequacy, wow, is incredibly difficult to manage. But let's focus on building that support system around you, sharing the situation with your friends, your mates, your colleagues, getting those different perspectives. But also, it's really important in the tough times that you, come on, that you remember your strengths. Yeah. You remember your achievements. No one can take them off you. So with this self-care and self-reflection, your confidence can be repaired and it will return. And you know what? And this is so important from an old lady. When your confidence comes back again, it'll be deepened. Because when tested, you persisted. When the worst happened, you picked yourself up. And if you've done that once, you know that you can do it again. 10. Take care of yourself. Take care of yourself. When you confront a really negative situation, a setback, all sorts of incredibly negative behaviours can cascade from it. Now, yes, we know all of this, so let's go through it. Booze, drug use, misuse, all sorts of denial behaviours that move you away from your goal and, in fact, to be frank, move you away from who you are. This is the important bit of the post this week. When you are in a setback zone, know that you're going to have to do something to get out of it. So what I mean is, if you're in a setback zone, don't think time heals all wounds, because it doesn't. If you're in a setback zone, you are going to have to do an intervention with yourself to pull yourself out of that and move on in your life. You're going to have to be active. You're going to have to move. You're going to have to do something. Now, the characteristic of successful people is they do take care of themselves. So when something dreadful happens, exercise, get enough sleep, feed yourself properly, and the key is that helped me through all the tough times in my life, is maintain a regular schedule. What you need to do to get yourself out of this setback situation is maintain the integrity of your daily patterns. But also, if you're finding it very difficult to move outside of yourself, so the setback means you're sort of like a pinball and you're just bouncing around yourself, I get that, and you can't see a way forward through the setback, then colleagues, that's when you need to activate as quickly as you can some professional support. So it may be counselling, it may be psychological support, it may be that short term, that month, working with a professional coach. Okay, all of that's important, that's valuable, because remember, you're going to have to do something to get out of the setback zone. There is that old cliche, you know, that what the mind conceals, the body reveals. So therefore, be reflexive, be responsive in terms of your patterns, and look after your mind, but also look at your body and see what your body is doing in response to the setback. The body will tell you a truth. So a setback is disappointing. A setback is frequently frightening. But from the fear, from the worry, setbacks are also a gift, because they stop us sort of floating through life, thinking that it's all going to be okay. And setbacks ensure that we commit strongly and we refocus and we refocus and we refocus on that goal. And when the worst happens, and you survive, then you know what? Nothing ever really frightens you again. And you also realize how important your goal is, and you gain this renewed appreciation for that goal. Put another way, if life is a backpack, then a setback empties some of the load, the weight out of that bag. And if we just have the courage to crawl back up to our feet, then you know what? The load post the setback will be lighter. A setback is not a failure. It is an opportunity to refocus and simplify your life. A setback is an opportunity to learn. I wish you love, light, and peace. Tea out.